Hey guys, it's Chris with Drop Dice. So we are back again with the City Challenge. This is part 4, the Markets in Storehouse. And now we're just going to jump right into this. This is going to be very similar to our Anu Estate and Anu Garden video. And inside here, I wanted to show you what my actual Google document looks like, because I forgot that I didn't show you guys how I organized the document in the actual document here. Now, Google Documents, the best part about it is it's free. I'm sure by now most everybody knows about it, but occasionally I get questions from people that I share documents with that ask me, how do I get this outline here? Now, if you are interested in doing the outline, there are two ways to do it. You can either simply mark things off and say that this is a heading 1, or go over and say that this is normal text and then this is also heading 1, which will create these little headers over here so that you can make the click through. This would be a title and a subtitle here, for example. That gives you kind of a quick idea of how it would organically form. After a certain point, Google actually populates it once your document is specifically organized enough, and it looks like this is the minimum amount of items for it to populate, because it's the first time that I've gone in that it's populated it automatically. Now, if you want to turn on that tool, what you can do is go to Tools, and then you can go to Document Outline. The hot key for it is Control-Alt-A or Control-Alt-H. And that will actually pop it up over here so that you can quickly navigate through your document during game. Now, what we're going to talk about today is the marketplace. So let me make a quick change to our screen here. That way it's our familiar look. So we talked about the estate and the garden previously, and then we talked about the factions. Now, I believe with the factions, my new count of NPCs is up to 13 that are housed, but I think I've written 14. Just one of them I haven't housed in a district yet, so I'm not counting her as part of my list yet. So Anu Masato is our leader of the city. Remember, he's the guy who's in charge, which kind of leads me over to the marketplace, which, again, that's how quick it is to navigate through when you have this outline. Anu Yutaro is actually the cousin to Anu Sozin, and by default Anu Masato, because it would be his cousin through marriage as well. But essentially, he is the cousin to the family that is in charge of the city, and he is also in charge of the marketplace. And the question is, who is really in charge? And Anu Yutaro, unlike his cousin, or cousins, I should say, is a very capable man, and he is not prone to corruption as much as they are. So he actually, which we're actually going to make a note here, and I'm going to explain a little L5R mechanics for anybody who's watching this that isn't familiar with L5R just yet. So Anu Yutaro is not a corruptible man. So again, I used that NPC fluff generator, got his description. Now, the description I got is that he is widowed and has a honor of 3.8. Because I don't want him corrupted, I'm going to go ahead and boost up this honor. And basically, it's a 10-point scale. The higher the number, of course, the more honorable you are, and the less likely you are to do certain illegal or dishonorable things. So I'm going to say he has a 6.8, which a lot of players sit in the 5 to 7 range in most games. Depending on if they're going to be a dishonorable person, they may be, of course, less than that, but that's kind of an average for a player is in that range there. And players can, of course, fluctuate just like NPCs can. This number will effectively say, this honorable character or dishonorable character has given you a mission. It's going to change your numbers by this much if you choose to do it. And that can have a very dynamic effect on the game. It's kind of like if alignment was more fluid in D&D, which is part of my problem with D&D, is that alignment isn't inherently by the system fluid. A lot of GMs change that and home rule it, and I think that's a really solid idea. So if you do that, awesome. If you don't do that, I say give it a try in your next game. Create a ethics system and judge alignment by that ethics system, which could actually be defined within your city that you're building. Does your city have a code of ethics? Which we will talk about inside the video with law, because law and ethics tends to go hand in hand in discussion. Or sometimes they're contrary to each other, which will be its own sub-conversation to that video. Yutaro is himself a male 33 years of age, and we've already kind of established his connections. Now, Yasuki Reiko, we talked about the Thousand Notes faction, the criminal syndicate that, or not criminal syndicate, they're a trade syndicate that's inside the city, and she happens to be the owner of one of my major points of interest within the marketplace, which is the 1,000 Petal Tea House, which is the finest tea house available, and this will be a place that my players will visit. And I'm going to have to get some images or some ideas in my head about what this place looks like, but I have this great idea of like this tea house that the tables are made of glass, which would be very expensive in Rukagon, because glass blowing is a skill but not a serious trait. To have glass top tables would be very, very exquisite indeed. That only the nicest, whitest of porcelain is used for the teacups here. That the tea kettles themselves are handcrafted. That each one is a cast iron kettle, but they are crafted with insignias of birds and dragons, and each one is very personal. And when you come to the tea house, you not only do you make a selection of what tea to drink, you also have the option to pick one of 40, 50 different teapots and get a specific teapot of your design, which I'm going to lean on the players for. I'm going to be like, tell me, what does your teapot look like? And that'll provide a nice thing for players to add to and to remember later on, that they described this teapot that was two dragons twisted and almost this romantic position coming together. And the way to get the teapot open is that once the tea has heated, one dragon's head will turn away from the other one, and then the steam spout will come off. That lets you know that your tea is ready to be poured. It's a very interesting idea. In fact, I'm probably going to use that teapot in there as my example to players of what teapots could look like or what they could do, that they are these very extravagant fantasy teapots, because in reality a teapot can't do that. For anybody who loves tea like me, you know that that's a crazy pipe dream, but it would be so cool, right? So we've got Reiko in here, and then Soshi Takahiro, which is a male scorpion. I haven't decided exactly what I want to do with him. I've left his honor low and his glory low, which is super common for Scorpion. They typically don't have a lot of honor because they believe in doing duty regardless of what is right and wrong, and because of that, their honor score is often low. And it makes them a very interesting clan. If you haven't read L5R, they're probably one of my favorites just because they are so adherent to their code of ethics or their principles that they are willing to do what it takes, no matter what. They've been exiled from the Empire once before and brought back in. They've killed an emperor, all for the idea of protecting the people. For Game of Thrones fans, the spider in Game of Thrones has a very Scorpion-like mentality. He believes in doing what is right for the people and for the country, not necessarily for the rulership. And the Scorpion are totally like that, which is why I dig them so much. They're super cool. Now, why does the market exist? That's an obvious answer. It's to conduct fine trades, and then there are also fine tea houses. There's going to be calligraphy halls. Any sort of schooling is going to be inside this district. It's going to be kind of a point of interest that it would be hard to go through your day without visiting the markets for some reason or another. Unless you were there for court, for example, which you would probably just stay in the Anu Estates or Gardens. But even then, if you wanted to escape the confines of the political maneuvering, the marketplace could serve a great example for that. And it's also a center where all of the classes can come together and get a lot of neutral ground. So if you wanted to hire a Ronin to do something, this would be a great place to go find a Ronin. This would be a great place to find a servant to add to your household, things like that. Edda are waiting for work inside the city. And that'll really provide a feeling of what the city's about. I also have this crazy idea of like children that walk the streets during rain, and they provide the service of, just for simple boo, the smallest change possible, like copper pieces. They'll hold umbrellas for fine ladies so that their kimonos will not get stained by the rain. Simple little things like that will really make the city breathe and feel alive is really what we're shooting for. Now, this video is going to run a little bit longer just because we're doing two districts that are kind of complicated. This is the meat and potatoes of this video, the Storehouse. The Storehouse is such an interesting area for me because it's just really a bunch of warehouses, and how do you make that cool? Well, the real thing to make that cool is who's in charge? Anu Yutaro, who is the man who's also in charge of the markets. Basically, as the city is tiered down, I have this vision of there's the head Anu who's in charge of the noble area, and then the markets and social area is another Anu who's in charge, and then I'm going to decide on another one who has 3 districts under his control. And while he is technically the most powerful, he has the least respectable position, because in a lot of Asian style settings that is the case. If you get a lot of provinces but your provinces are not necessarily good provinces, it means less than if you had a small province that meant a lot. So that's kind of the principle that I'm reinforcing inside the city, is that the quality of the land you're in charge of notates your position inside society. So the guy who's in charge of all the housing districts, while is a very respectable position, is the least highest on the tier. So again, Anu Yutaro being in charge, but who's really in charge of the marketplace? And that is a Ronin named Masakai. Masakai is sworn to Anu Yutaro. There's a couple Ronin that have sworn service to the Anu family, but specifically Anu Yutaro. Anu Yutaro, while the second-tiered person inside this idea of how the city is set up and their power structure, Anu Yutaro is arguably more powerful than even Masakai. Is arguably more powerful than Masato, who's actually in charge of the whole city, especially when you figure that Oyaban Ichida is actually pulling the strings behind Masato. So really, Anu Yutaro is going to be the one that players are probably going to gravitate to, because he's going to be the guy that has the power to get things done. And this is not very uncommon if you think about it. A lot of times, not the person who's at the top, but the person below them actually has a lot of the moving and shaking power that's available to them. So I'm just kind of re-emphasizing a thing that happens in real world inside the game world to again evoke an idea that this is something that carries out. While this also means that Yutaro is a very trusted man, this also means that he could be a point for other people to take advantage of. And that's where our adventure seeds will really come into place inside the storehouses. The NPC Masakai is a older Ronin who's sworn his allegiance and is not necessarily a very honorable man, but he has a lot of glory. He's a man that, if you happen to know about battles and different wars and things like that, he would be a veteran at a 6.4. He wouldn't be like the man who saved the kingdom, but he would be a man who fought in a war to save the kingdom, to give you an idea of how that scale works again. Another Ronin is Seiji. Seiji is a younger man, 26 years of age, and he is a little bit higher on honor, and his glory is a little bit lower because he's younger. The next one we have is Yumi, who I love the description of, because a lot of times the L5R fluff generator, for whatever reason, likes to make people either attractive, bland, or neutral to positive on the scale of beauty. But on Yumi, Yumi is an unattractive female. So I get this idea of this very square-faced, square-faced, bulky woman that, she would probably make a really good crab. This muscle-bound, big, muscular woman. She's of average height and of average build. I may change that because I've got this idea of generically what L5R would consider to be an unattractive woman, like someone who's almost just been out there a lot. And I think I'm going to add some scars to her just to really drive home the fact that she just stands out, especially because most every NPC female that I have here is actually on the beautiful side, which is just kind of a weird fluke from the fluff generator. She is married, so that means I'm going to have another NPC that I have to decide if it's going to be just she's married to this guy over here and he's not going to be a major guy, or if I should name him and give him a purpose within the city. And I like relationships that are already ingrained, so having the marriage that Seiji has or Yumi has, which I may even make them married to each other since they're very close in age, they could be actually important people. Now, the Ronin themselves do live in the Storehouse district. It's part of their services. They live inside one of the actual points of interest within here, which is the Storehouse of the Dragon, which is where the Jade is held. That is also where the Ronin Guard live, because they protect Jade specifically. Now, you're going to notice that there's quite a bit of NPCs, so bear with me here. Oiban Achida also lives here, which we're probably going to give him a fake name for how he gravitates around the city, but this is more for my notes to know where his actual home, his residence is. Where he conducts business may be a whole different area. I haven't decided on that yet. I've tried to keep the faction headquarters a little bit limited at the moment because I want to play with the city. I've got a good idea on the 1,000 notes are obviously going to be in the marketplace. I have a feeling that the guiding hand is actually going to be in the samurai quarters, where the samurai live, or possibly even where the Edda live, since most of them are Edda and Henin. They are the people that are servants to the household, so they may actually have a headquarters that is outside the manor of the Lord's house, but in an area where everyone could get to and it wouldn't look too odd. So maybe the Henin district. So after we have Achida, there is his lieutenant Ayami. Ayami, again, an exceptionally attractive young woman, 27 years of age, and she is widowed. Now, there is something interesting about these criminal types. I did give them infamy ranks. Infamy is kind of the opposite of glory. It's treated the same. It's how you recognize someone for their deeds, but instead of being a positive light, like a war hero, or things that Rukugan actually values, instead it's things that Rukugan does not value. So murder, stealing, theft, blackmail, warlords, things like that. Those are all infamy. So an infamy of 4 is actually pretty high, which leads you to wonder about his lieutenants here, who actually have higher infamy than him. These women are women that are a little bit more well known for their devious acts. There is Ayami, who's got a 5.4, and Naoki, who's got a 5.5. Again, another very young woman. She is married, so there's another NPC chance right there. And then the last one is a guy that I wanted to have an adventure seed of just a brutal murderer in the city at some point, and that's where Ko the Butcher comes in. Ko the Butcher, I have this idea that he is the man that kills people for the Jade Serpents. Like, if there's a murder or something terrible or heinous that's done, Ko is really the one who's doing it, whereas the lieutenants and the Oyaban are more like manipulators. Ko is the man who is doing the dirtiest of dirty work. So Ko the Butcher, who is a 50-year-old man, and I have the idea that like he is a deceptive man. He's what looks like a warm, unthreatening man when you meet him, but when he does his job, it's like his whole complexion changes and he turns into this like bastion of evil that you can just feel the hatred boiling in him as he buries a butcher knife into you, or whatever weapon I choose for him. And again, a lot of the people inside the city, because I wanted to keep this idea, are fashionable. So that will come up time and time and again throughout here. Or they'll have clothing that's out of date, which is a personal favorite of mine. I like characters that feel a little off in settings. So NPCs that have clothing that feels like their great-grandmother would wear it, they always stand out to me, because in reality, when I meet someone like that, like, for example, I met this woman who was at a secondhand store, and she was wearing some very older generation clothing, and I can still picture who she looks like because her clothing was so outside of the norm. And so I think that's a great thing that you can actually include in your games, is think about the way people dress and how that's going to affect your players as far as their memory retention about who these NPCs are, because that's an aspect of the NPC. Now, because this video is going a little longer, I want to kind of divert that story a little bit more. So, for example, we did a campaign where a friend of mine, Tony, was running, and he had this NPC who would show up, and he always described the NPC's physical traits every time, and he always gave us the same description. And eventually, after playing in his campaign for almost a year and a half, you kind of tune it out. And the second time, or the time that we see him last, or at least what we believe to be him next, Tony describes him, and he makes one tiny change that none of us noticed. He simply said, that he is barefoot. We've never seen him barefoot. None of us picked up on it. None of us noticed. And so this is kind of a story about how describing your characters is really solid, and especially if they have mannerisms. Like, this character always wore crisp, black, polished boots that he was very proud of. And for him to be seen barefoot on a road, we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think it was a doppelganger, but later on in the story, we get to meeting the main bad guy, who's this arch-wizard who is posing as him, and he says, "You are fools. Even my haphazard disguise was able enough to fool you." And then the GM narrates us having a flashback, and then we remember he's not wearing shoes, and then as a player it clicks. He didn't say he specifically mentioned that NPC was not wearing shoes. That's a beautiful moment. You see it in TV, and it's really hard to execute in games, but if you could do it, it's really awesome when it happens. So those are the districts that I've outlined out. The next 3 districts, we're probably going to condense those in one video, just because, again, it's a kind of a repeat style of what the other stuff was. After that video, we're going to do a relationship chart and show how these characters interact with each other. And at the same time, we'll kind of start talking about how these rumors work. And then we'll probably split that into 2 videos, a relationship chart, a rumor/adventure seed chart video that will probably come out in the same day because they're so intricately connected to each other. With that said, that is all we have for today's videos. Make sure that you share, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me about how your cities are going. If you have any questions for me or would like to add anything to this city project, please throw it inside the comments section. And as always, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you at the gaming table.